Index funds. You've heard of them. You've heard hundreds of people say, oh, just put your money in an index fund and it'll grow. But what does that actually mean? See, an index fund is the same thing as an ETF. And basically, you could find an index fund for every single thing you could ever think of. This is especially true for the simple index funds. Like, there's an index fund for every sector of the market: communication services, consumer discretionary, consumer staples, energy, financials, healthcare, industrials, information technology, materials, real estate, and utilities. Let's talk about what ETFs actually are. And the most popular ETF in the world is the S&P 500, which is the top 500 companies in the US. And let's look at the holdings. These, for example, are the holdings for the S&P 500. And these are the top 10 holdings: Nvidia, Microsoft, Apple, Amazon. You know all these names, they're household names. And these are all the sectors that we were talking about previously: technology, financials. And you can see how they're weighted in each sector depending on the percentage. Now, an ETF is the most important part about an ETF is it's a low risk. For example, Tesla falls 10% tomorrow, which is a common occurrence. Tesla stock moves up and down constantly. But all the other companies here moved up 0.5%. The ETF would probably move upwards, even though the Tesla holdings fell by 10%. That's crazy because it's low risk. All these other companies balance out if one company does bad, and all these other companies, if all of them do bad, then the whole market is doing bad, right? And you can use this to invest in different sectors of the market. That's the great thing about ETFs. One of the best examples is one of my favorite ETFs, PPA, which is an ETF of aerospace and defense contractors. And look at all these great companies: RTX, Boeing. Boeing, they make planes. RTX, they make missiles. Um, Lockheed, they make the F-35. They make jets. Incredible companies here. And instead of, for example, investing 10% of your portfolio to RTX, okay? Um, and for example, their missile turns out to be faulty. The stock drops 20%. See, that's just not a good idea. You can obviously put some percentage toward individual companies, but if you want to put a large percentage, it should always be an ETF. That's why ETFs are one of the greatest investing tools.